Brady Hoke joins us right now on Xtra 1360. If you missed this news earlier today, the Aztecs picked by the media to win the West Division of the Mountain West Conference. Brady, it's great to have you back with us here on Xtra 1360. I want to start with how are you able to avoid everything going on? We hear about professional sports and collegiate sports, COVID-19. Like, how do you separate yourself from that, put yourself and your coaching staff and your team in a position to try to go out and hopefully win some football games if and when you're able to play, 6 or 8 weeks from now?
Well, I think, just the one thing, if you remember what Mike Tyson said, that everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? So what we have done is stayed together as a group from staff-wise to our player-wise, keeping the guys engaged, being creative in everything that we can do. And, we hope to be able to kick it off.
Well, hopefully, Coach, we will get a season this year. By the way, I appreciate the Cannon Karma. The Cannon Karma is always going to work for you to kick it off right here, Coach. But let's talk about testing right now. So the NCAA put out guidelines where they're only going to require one test a week. The NFL is talking about 7 days a week. How difficult, what kind of a challenge is it to deal with 19, 20, 21-year-olds and convey to them the importance of physical distancing and doing all the right things to minimize the possibility of getting infected with COVID-19? How's that challenge?
Well, how about when you were 18 to 22? How'd that go?
Yeah, well, how about this? I have a 23-year-old son, a 22-year-old son, and a 19-year-old daughter, Coach. So I'm dealing with that right now. So, but as a coach, who is sort of the protector of these kids, so to speak, away from home, what kind of a challenge is that for you and your staff?
Well, I think this. I think, we try and get as close as we can to all our players. We want to help them make sure they understand what good decision-making is. And, they want to play. And, if you can convince them, and we try and do that by communicating a lot, that, the best way for us to play is for us to make sure that we're abiding by the, CDC rules of mask wearing and washing our hands and the social distancing. And believe me, that's not, in the sanitization, but that's not the easiest thing in the world, obviously, but I think we got really good leadership. I think the senior class, because they understand that this, for most of them, this is the last time they'll play organized football. And they want to play this season. They want to be out there. They've worked extremely hard. I like where they're at right now. As a group, we'll have, as of Friday, I think we'll have 83 guys within our workouts. So, they're showing us that they want to play, and we're just going to keep inspiring them and educating them.
Aztecs head coach Brady Hoke joining us right now on Xtra 1360. So, Coach, what is next for your team? I know you mentioned earlier today August 7th is an important date, but what between now and hopefully the beginning of the season do you still have to accomplish with your team?
Well, we start here on Friday and do a little different with the NCAA with mandatory workouts. So walkthroughs, some of those things, everything's been voluntary. Everything's been virtually. We're still working virtually, but our guys are out here, getting themselves ready to play with the strength and conditioning, our trainers. Believe me, they come in the building one way, they leave another way. They're not in the locker room at all. Their laundry is taken care of, and it's an absolute unbelievable experience what our trainers have done, our strength coaches, our equipment managers, how they've made it really something that's been very effective for us and for the best with the health and safety.
There's no doubt. Rocky Long said many times, Coach, your impact on the defense last year was immeasurable. Last year's Aztecs defense was arguably the greatest defense in school history. The numbers were mind-boggling what that defense did. You're going to have a new starting quarterback this year, so give us a sneak peek right now of what you can build from your defense that we saw a year ago.
Well, we're big believers in it's got to start up front. And having Keyshawn Banks and Cameron Thomas back, Connor Mitchell, we've got some guys that I think, we'll miss Miles, we'll miss Kiava, but we got some guys who are hungry. We got some guys who, want to get out there and compete. And so we're excited about that. I think Darren Hall and obviously daggone it.
It's a lot of
I
players.
got going. Dwayne Johnson, with their experience. Tariq Thompson. Just the guys that we have in the back end. We have 4 seniors who are safeties or an Aztec. So really excited about them. And obviously those are big shoes to fill. That defense last year and how they played as a unit.
You mentioned Cameron Thomas. I mean, what a year it was for him a year ago. As you saw it firsthand, he was just a redshirt freshman. What type of player did you see a year ago, and what type of potential does he have still in an Aztecs uniform?
Well, I think he's got a lot of potential. I think he's untapped still in some ways. He's weighing a little bit more. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. The thing that separates Cam is his toughness and his work ethic. And, we're going to ask a lot of him as he continues to develop, as he continues to grow as a leader also.
Coach, this is the first time you will start a season as a head coach since 2014. How is Brady Hoke, the slimmer version, by the way, how is Brady Hoke different, though, in 2020 than when you started your last full season as a coach back in 2014?
I think, you learn from every experience that you have. I believe that in life, and I believe it, obviously, in the coaching profession. So I think there's a lot that's the same that I need and we need. Of who I am, but I think at the same time there's some things that you look at and say, well, I'll handle that situation again differently, from end of games to using timeouts or whatever it is. And also I think in this day and age you learn more about the players and their families, and I think you keep growing that way.
Brady Hoke again joining us right now on Xtra 1360. I mentioned the fact that you were picked by the media to win the West Division, which I know to a football coach probably doesn't mean much. But when you look at your team, though, like do you have a feeling like it could be a special group? I thought last year was a special group with what you were able to do. Do you feel like you have the pieces in place to, if you can put this pandemic stuff behind you, if you can get on the field, you can really make some noise again?
Well, I think this, we got 6 days of spring ball, new coaches on the staff, so there's some evaluations that are kind of incomplete. And at the same time, I think we'll have outstanding competition. And the competition will make us better. The way that we do things and our beliefs in toughness and our beliefs in the culture that we want and the character that we want, I think those things, as our leadership from the top, with our seniors, our coaches, I think it could be an exciting year.
Have we made a decision exactly on what direction the offense is going to go with this team? In other words, a year ago, obviously, the idea was we wanted to throw the ball more, and it just didn't seem to work at all. The defense carried this team a year ago. So do you want to find the balance? Do you want to get back to the smash mouth football that the Aztecs are so famous for under Coach Long? How do you see this offense moving in 2020?
Well, I do think this. always have believed that defense wins you championships. And I think the one thing that's changed in this day and age is how people are playing offense and be able at the same time to score enough points. And so offensively we'll be a little bit more spread out. I'm not going to say we're not going to still smash mouth people and have that perspective in mind and that intensity and direction. But, with some of the RPOs and some of the things that Jeff has brought in from Kansas and his experiences, I think it fits our personnel.
I went back and looked at some of the scores, Coach, from your first time as the head coach at San Diego State, and these were not 10-7 games. I mean, you were beating people scoring 40 points, like you just said. I mean, it's not as if you have to do that necessarily with your defense, but when you look back on your first stint at San Diego State, you probably look back on it as one of the best offensive units you've been around to coach.
Well, yeah, and the Ryan Lindleys and Sampsons and Vincent Browns. I mean, we had those kind of guys on the team, and they make a difference. Playmakers make a difference, and when Ronnie came in, he made a difference. So we just got to keep number one, the recruiting is the lifeblood of what you do, and we've got to be very aggressive in what we're doing. And I think we'll have great competition at the quarterback position, the running back position. So we're excited about that part of it.
Limiting the practice time is probably going to be necessary to get through this college football season, limiting the physical contact and just the connection with the players out there. You can't control all the decisions out there. Your focus, coach, is just coaching your football team. Whatever cards are dealt you got to play the cards.
Right.
But how challenging is it to have to adapt to what is required right now to actually coach a football team?
Well, I would say this. Our players have really done a good job. We've had the virtual meetings, position group meetings, offensive, defensive side of the ball meetings, academic meetings, team meetings, senior leadership meetings, and our guys have adapted very, very well. They pay attention. It's been really, I'm proud of them for how they've handled it. They know that, we give no excuses. Whatever happens, we have to be prepared. And so I like the mindset that we have as a football program.
Coach, how do you expect the quarterback competition to shake out? You got some options, it looks like, heading into camp.
Yeah, I think we do. And I think there's 4 guys who are going to fight. I think they were doing that during the spring. And, having the Lucas here, a guy who's a bit of a veteran. He's played in games, started games. Really, Carson and what he did in his one start was pretty significant. And I like how Brookshire's come along and Mark Salazar. So I think early in camp, obviously, we've got to make a decision, probably about 8 to 10 days into camp, and go from there. But, I think that kind of pressure that we can apply and that kind of competition, I think, is really what will separate who that main guy is.
All right, so some of the rules you set down. Costa's banned, right? I mean, he's pretty much banned.
Well, I don't even know who that is.
Thank you. All right, so that's
Sounds
forgotten.
like us.
He terrorized you on your first stint as the head coach. You don't need any of that.
Correct.
The cannons, of course, is going to have to be a weekly thing. Now, it doesn't always have to be you, coach. It could be one of your assistants, but Mike May will make it clear. Somebody from the football hierarchy needs to check in with the cannons on the Friday before every game. That's a must.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so they get the little bit of the cannon karma right now.
Yep.
I just, bottom line here, Coach, you're such an optimist, and you have been, and you've sustained it throughout your entire coaching career. Just your daily life right now, like the rest of us over these last 4.5 months, Has football and being the head coach again at the Aztecs actually afforded you the kind of distraction necessary to get through this pandemic?
Oh, I think so. I mean, and obviously, you're fired up about the kids on your team, and we got a great staff, and we're competitors. So every day we got to outwork and we got to beat whoever. So we got to do that as a staff, and our players know that.
Coach, one more from me before we let you go. I have to ask about the new stadium. It's probably the last thing on your mind because there's so much going on, but what impact is it going to have? I mean, they're going to start construction on this thing potentially in the next couple of weeks.
Correct.
It's going to be built in a couple of years. Like, what does this mean for San Diego State and your football team?
Well, I think it is tremendous value, I think, to the city of San Diego, and I know to us as Aztecs, the Aztec Nation. The recruiting aspect, we've got about 10 to 12 commitments right now, and believe me, that's been part of the plan is to show them, the virtual tour of what the stadium will be like. And so we're excited about it, and we think we're going to have an excellent home.
Oh, we can't wait. We cannot wait. Now, again, we can't control when the season's going to start, who you guys are going to play. But we're going to have a college football season. We're going to have an Aztec season. And Brady Hoke is definitely in charge, and he is the man to take us next level. Coach, thank you for the extended time. You're the only guest that we had all week. So we really wanted to thank you so much for coming on our show and making our life a little easier. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, you're not going on the morning show. No. You're married to the Loose Cannons, all right?
There you go.
All right, Coach, thanks so much.
You got it. Thanks, guys.